How we doing there, boys and girls? Matthew's here and welcome back to another video. So today we're going to talk about some of the updates that have happened on the PTR this week. The first one we're going to cover is going to be the Crafter's Mark recipes. Yes, we've learned a little bit more about these Crafter's Marks. We've been used to using Crafter's Mark, well, the Novice Crafter's Mark 1 and Crafter's Mark 2 to increase the item level of our basic gear, and in patch 9.1 this trend is going to continue. We're going to unlock a Crafter's Mark 3, and there's also this sort of prestigious Crafter's Mark that is a little bit different to how we're used to using them, but we'll go through what we know so far. Now, things I should point out to begin with this is that this is still the PTR. Every single week we're getting a new update to the public test realm, and things are being tweaked and tuned. So the best way to keep track of everything that's going on, making sure that you go into patch 9.1 with as much information and as up to date as possible, is to hit that subscribe button. Yes, a little bit of a shameless plug first thing in the video, but yes, hit the subscribe button if you're not already. If you're already a subscriber and you've been a subscriber for a long time, thank you for watching. Hope you enjoy. But yes, so Crafter's Mark 3. This is the first thing that we're going to be getting very early on in the beginning of Shadowlands. I imagine this is not going to take us all that long to get. If you remember back to the beginning of Shadowlands, we were able to get hold of the Crafter's Mark 2 and start crafting that juicy 168 gear relatively quickly. If you focused on getting your stuff done in the Moor, it was only a couple of weeks before you unlocked Crafter's Mark 2, and yeah, the people who were early adopters and got on board with that really quickly made a stinking amount of gold. In patch 9.1, the item level of the Crafter's Mark 3 gear is not going to be quite as lucrative. We can see from here the Crafter's Mark 3, it's going to increase the item level to 180. A lot of people look at this and they're like, well, what's the point? The point is exactly the same as what it was before. Crafter's Mark gear is not gear that is designed for the natural progressing player. What it is designed for is those that are freshly dinged characters, people who have just hit level 60. When you first hit level 60, your item level is 130, 140 maybe, and what you really want to do is you want to bump your item level as quickly and as easily as possible so you can get to some of that current endgame content. Now, of course, we step into patch 9.1, that current endgame content is going to be a little bit further along and a little bit more difficult relative to what the 9.0 content is, and so we need some better gear for that. So, Crafter's Mark 3, item level 180, this is still going to be really attractive to anybody that's just hit level 60. It is entirely true to say that anybody that is currently playing the game now, your item level is probably 180, 200 absolute minimum in most cases nowadays. So this is probably not for you, but that doesn't mean there isn't a market for it. First big question though, where do we get this Crafter's Mark 3? We can see it's a thing, we know what it does, now where do we go about getting it? Well, it comes from this vendor. This Duchess Minx is the vendor is the Death's Advance Quartermaster. Now, the amount of things that are appearing on this Quartermaster is increasing every time I look at her. Let's just make sure that we go to all to make sure everything's showing. Right, so at the beginning there was only a couple of things showing, and with this latest update on the PTR, the Crafter's Mark 3 has appeared. Now, if we hover over this, we'll see that it requires you to be honoured with the Death's Advance as it stands currently. This isn't going to be too difficult. I did an entire week's worth of daily quests on the PTR, and I got just, well, you can see we're just 30% of the way through friendly. So to get honoured, I would expect that if you're maintaining and you're doing everything that you can do on a somewhat daily basis, it shouldn't be more than a couple of weeks into patch 9.1 you'll be able to buy this. We know from past history that the reputation grinds related to any new zone can generally picked up quite quickly. At the moment, our choices are actually relatively limited. The only way we can go about getting reputation with this faction is by doing the intro quests and by doing the dailies. By the time the game comes out, though, it wouldn't surprise me if the zone is a lot more populated with quests and things to do. The likelihood is that the raid might even offer some reputation with this. The new mega dungeon, as and when we get that, there is a possibility that the mega dungeon might even give reputation with this faction. There's likely to be a good few sources of reputation for this one faction, meaning that getting honoured really shouldn't take you all that long. But so now we've covered this one, we're going to make our 180 gear. That's going to be the equivalent of today's item level 168 gear. But I did mention at the beginning of the video, and you'll see in the thumbnail, there is 2 new levels of Crafter's Marks. There's one called a Prestigious Crafter's Mark. If we look in the Unlearned tab, you'll see this one. A Prestigious Crafter's Mark requires more materials and is now epic. This does one step further. It sets the item level to 200. Your level requirement to 60, but it adds a unique equipped. This means that any single character will only be able to have one piece of crafted gear at item level 200. I guess this is a nod to back in the past expansions where crafters used to be able to make a really good piece of gear, but it was always like you'd make a really good pair of legs or a good pair of boots, that sort of thing. It was kind of, you couldn't equip an entire character with crafted gear. You could have a really good piece, but only in sort of only one of them, and this is sort of a nod to that, I believe. We do know some information about this Crafter's Mark III. We've also learned so far that this is going to be a quest. Now, I've tried to do a little bit of digging to find out exactly as and when you're going to be able to get this quest. My theory and my feeling is that this quest is actually locked behind the campaign. Now, it's not locked all that far behind the campaign. I feel that you only need to have the first 2 chapters of the campaign complete, and then you'll be able to come up to this fella. This is in one of the caves in the Keeper's Respite, this Archivist Rosur. I don't know how you say that. But this fella gives you a quest. That quest is this one. Where is it? Table of Discontent. Go out there, loot 250 intentionally scattered pages from enemies and piled papers on Corthia. That will then give you the recipe for Prestigious Crafter's Mark. So this, instead of it being a rep grind, is more of a quest that you're going to have to go out and you're going to have to kill a bunch of creatures, loot a bunch of stuff. Now, as it stands at time of recording this, we are not able to get these scattered pages. They've not been implemented on the PTR yet, so we don't know just how easy this is to grind up. The likelihood is, though, is that if they're just random spawn locations around the island, if you can kill enemies and randomly get them, the likelihood is that you can just grind this out. The question will be, though, is just how much of a mindless grind is this? Is this something that you can go and kill literally 250 enemies and get all 250 pages? Or are they going to deliberately make the drop chance on this, like, terrible? Well, only time will tell in that regard, so make sure you stay subscribed and you stick around, so as and when we know exactly how we get it, or how long it's going to take us to get, then you guys will have the answers. But that's the new Prestigious Crafter's Marks, boys and girls. That's the Crafter's Mark III, the Prestigious Crafter's Marks. That's going to be our sort of fundamental for the crafting, at least for the gear crafters out there, your tailors, your leatherworkers, your blacksmiths. It's been a big part of the Shadowlands as it stands so far, and it appears that Blizzard are going to be keeping this same system on board and just reiterating on top of the already gained system. So I'll leave it there for this video, boys and girls. I hope that's helpful to you. Like I said at the beginning of the video, if you're new around here, consider subscribing. But if you're a regular subscriber, I appreciate you coming back. I hope you're enjoying. Let me know down below in the comments if there's any sort of sections or professions, say, that you would like me to cover on the PTR, and I'll go through as much as possible. But I'll leave it there for today. Enjoy the rest of your day, boys and girls, and I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.